Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. This is our webinar for April, and we'll be looking at the Mozy Restore process today. So just a quick introduction for those who haven't joined us before. My own name is Niall Fahy. I am the Technical Education Coordinator in Mozy here. So I'm based in Cork in Ireland, but I do all the internal and external training for Mozy worldwide. Today's session, as I said, we'll be looking at the Mozy Restore process. So basically I'll do a quick slide deck between 10 and 15 minutes long, and then we will do a demonstration for another 15 minutes, and then we'll leave the last half an hour to Q&A. Okay. Just to note on the Q&A, I will only be answering the questions that are specific to today's webinar. If you have a question about something else, then I might just ask you to email me directly, and I can get somebody to have a look at that. Okay, so we'll just get started. Okay, so just a quick overview. We'll be looking at restores, both in-client and web restores. So the restores, obviously, these are designed so that end users such as yourselves can actually access the files they've backed up to us when you actually need them. Okay, so there's no point in you backing up your files to us unless you can actually access them and restore them in times of need. It would defeat the purpose of you sending them up to us if you weren't able to perform a restore. In-client restores. Okay, so in-client restores will allow you to create a restore from the computer that has the Mozy client installed. So you can do a quick restore of a few files from the machine that you currently have Mozy installed on. Web restores then are restores that will allow you to actually create a restore from any computer. So just as long as you have an internet connection, you can log on to your Mozy account online and create a restore of your files. Okay. So in-client restores. So the important thing with the in-client restore is obviously is opening up. The first thing you need to do is open up the restore tab within the client, the Mozy client on your desktop. Okay, and this tab itself will actually only appear after your initial backup. That may seem an obvious thing, but it's worth pointing out because sometimes you may think that when we do get questions sometimes when people ask us, I'm in the middle of my backup and I don't have any restore tab. And that's just due to the fact that for your initial backup, you obviously have no files on our servers while your initial backup is occurring. So until that initial backup is completed, you don't have files on our servers that you can restore. Okay. So this is what the restore tab looks like within the client. Okay. The first thing we're looking at, okay, is deciding what version of the file that we want to retrieve. Okay. If you change nothing in here, so the area I've circled here in the search for section, if you change nothing here and you just leave it at search the latest version, it's going to retrieve the most recent backup of the file. So the last backup you ran, it's going to show you that version of the file in here. Okay? So the file selection can be made in the left-hand box, and the files themselves will appear on the right-hand side. So any files within a folder will appear here on the right-hand side. Okay? If you wish to select a different version, then you can search by date. Okay, so that will allow you from the calendar on the right-hand side, will allow you actually select the date from your backups from when you would actually like to restore the file from. Okay, so what prior version you might want to restore. Okay, that can be handy in the sense that maybe you've made adjustments to you might have made adjustments to a file maybe today that maybe, and like you want to, but like the adjustments you made to the file today don't tie in actually with what you want the overall project to look like. So you go back to maybe the file that you created last week because that's the version of the file that you're most happiest with. Okay. So within client as well, you have the added advantage that you don't have online is that you can actually select from the timed backups. So if you are running multiple backups in a day, so say you're running up to 12 backups in a day, you can actually select a particular timed backup that you want to restore using the in-client restore. That feature is not available when you're doing a web restore. And I'll show you that in a while when we're going through the walkthrough. It just allows you, so if you have run 5 backups yesterday, you can actually pick which one of those specific backups you want to restore the version of the file from. Okay. The next thing we're looking at is where you're going to save the file to, the destination folder. Okay. So if you don't change that and you restore the file, it'll restore it to its default location. You have 2 options to choose from there when you're actually restoring to the default location. And that's overwrite the existing file. So if the existing file is still in the original location, you can overwrite that existing file, or you can rename the copy if it's there. So renaming the copy will create, so for example, if I had book.txt and I restored to my original location and I want to rename it, it would just call it book1.txt. Okay. If you leave, as I say, you leave that that blank, it'll go to the default location. If you change the location, so if you go to browse and say you save it to your desktop, so maybe a file that's within your own user folder inside your documents section, and you decide to save it to your desktop for quick access, do note that it will save in its file directory. So this is one we get kind of commonly in support, people asking, oh, where's my file after restoring to? I restore to the desktop, I can't see the file. So I'm looking for book.txt on my desktop and it's not there. It'll actually be within the C folder. So it'll restore an actual folder structure for you, for the file, and you'll have to open up that folder structure to actually get to the file. Okay? And last but not least, within inside the in-client restore is the VSS restores. Okay, so this is for server users. Okay, so this is available to server users who are using VSS backup sets to back up databases like Exchange or any SQL databases like that. VSS, in-client restores for VSS are the best way to actually restore a VSS backup set. It restores all the bits you need, both the VSS snapshot and also the metadata required by the actual database itself to actually rebuild the database. So once you do a restore from here, okay, using a VSS restore, it creates the VSS file for you, and then you just import that file using the inbuilt wizards that Exchange has and SQL databases have. They have their own VSS restore wizard so that you can actually import this VSS snapshot that you've downloaded from Mozy. There's more in-depth steps on support.mozy.com. If you just go to support.mozy.com and go to the knowledge base and search for VSS restores, there are in-depth steps there on how to actually restore an Exchange server and restore SQL databases and the like. Okay, so that's just the quick slide deck on in-client restores. As I said, I'll go through that in the walkthrough as well to show you what I was talking about there. Web restores. Okay, so how do you accessing restores? So you can log directly into mozy.com/login. So your end users will log in there, or if you have a subdomain in place, they'll have to go through your subdomain. Okay. Alternatively, you can click on the link within the client, and I'll show you that in a minute, to access the files online, and that'll take you to your account online. There are a couple of things we look at here first. So emergency restores. So these are the restores that you'll use if you want to restore all of your files. So if you, say, are lucky enough that you're getting a new laptop in work, and you want to take all the data you've been backing up currently on your machine and you want to put it on the new machine, what you can do is on the new machine you can create an emergency restore, log into your account online, create an emergency restore, and actually download all those files and folders to your new laptop. You'd also use an emergency restore if there was a situation where, you know, your laptop was lost or stolen, or if it was after the hard drive was after dying, or something along those lines where you wouldn't have any access to any of the files. Okay, so you wouldn't be performing an emergency restore on a regular basis, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Download options then within the Restore window online. So you have a couple of download options. So there are 4 download options on the Web Restore interface. Okay, so we have a download now option. Okay, so that just allows you to actually download files and folders up to a max of 512 megabytes in size. So it's kind of like they'll download instantly. So once you click on them and you click download now, they'll download instantly, the same way as a file would download if you double-clicked on it in an email. Okay, so it'd be similar to that. That's why there's a size limit on it, because it's downloading directly. We then have the Mozy Restore Manager. Okay, so this is a Restore Manager that downloads onto your machine, okay, and allows you to stream your restore through the Restore Manager in the background, so you're not having to monitor it. It's similar. I suppose the best way to describe it is it's a Restore Manager like if anybody uses Firefox and they know when they go to download something, you get that little pop-up with the queue of your file, of the things that you're downloading. The Mozy Restore Manager is similar, and I'll show you that in the walkthrough. Okay, so generally we would say if you're going to be doing a restore of over 20 gigabytes, the Mozy Restore Manager is the best because you don't have to monitor it, and it'll run in the background and download those files for you. An archive restore, so this is a compressed zip file, and it actually you'll download links, and those links will be a compressed zip file, and will have your files within it. Generally, we'd recommend using archive restores for maybe restores up to a maximum of 20 gigabytes, mainly because they create download links, and those download links are only valid for 7 days. Okay, so once that link expires, you do have to rebuild it or start the restore process again with it. So that's why we would kind of say up to 20 gigabytes probably would be the kind of maximum we would recommend, and it's just mainly because most people won't have such a fast internet connection that they could download more than that within 7 days. Okay, and then we have media restores. Okay, so media restores are available at the moment only to our US customers, and that's just basically anything up to 100 gigabytes of data. We will offer a DVD restore, so we'll burn your files to DVDs and ship them to you. And then anything after 100 gigabytes, it will be burned onto an external hard drive and shipped to you. And there are costs involved then with using a media restore. Okay. The restore queue, okay, so the restore queue again is on the Web Restores. This allows you to actually create a custom restore of various files from different locations on your machine. And again, I'm going to go through that now in a second when I'm doing the walkthrough. Okay. That restore queue as well, just important to remember, is not enabled by default. Okay, so let's go through the client. Okay, so I'm just going to close this down here, and I'm going to, so I have a couple of ways to start a restore from my client. I can right click down here on my Mozy icon, and I can click on Restore Files, or I can open up the status window and click on Restore Files here. Both those will open up my Restore tab within my client. Okay. Searching here for the latest version will give me the latest version of the file, so from my last backup. Okay, so I can go in here and open it up, go to my desktop, so I click my desktop folder, and all my files on my desktop open up on the right hand side here. I can select which ones I want, and then I can hit, if I want, then I can change my location where I want to actually save the files to, or I can browse to a new location. Once I'm happy, I hit Restore Files and it starts the restore process. If, however, I want to select a file by a different date, I come here, okay, select my calendar, I'll go to yesterday, and here with the timed ones, I can actually select which backup I actually want to restore, so which version of the file I want to restore. So for example, if you're running maybe 6 backups a day and they're running automatically and they maybe run every maybe 2 or 3 hours. If you're working, say for example, on a document, that document could change a lot over the course of the day. So maybe you want to restore a particular version, and that's where you can use the in-client restore for that. And it's great for if you only need to restore a few files relatively quickly, because the in-client restore will do that quite fast. So again, I've changed, so I'm going to change to the 11:45 backup from yesterday. I'm going to come in here, I'm going to open down my files. Okay, and I'm going to go into my documents instead. Okay, and then I am going to pick a small file. So I'm going to select, let me make sure that file's not on my desktop already. Okay, so I'm going to select this one here. All right. And then I'm going to change the location to my desktop. Hit OK. And then hit Restore Files. And as you see, the status window pops up and it changes. And you see how quick that was. I know that was only a 15 kilobyte file, but it restores pretty quickly. Okay? And the status window pops up and tells you that the restore is completed. Okay, so if I close this down, and you'll see here we are, that's my restored file. Again, just say because I saved it to a new location, it's actually created the file path. And there's my file. Okay, so if I was just looking for that Word document on my desktop, I wouldn't find it because it's in my folder structure. Okay, when you're not restoring it to its default location, because you're not restoring it to its default location, it's going to create the folder structure. Okay, so that's just in-client restores. So we'll move on now to web restores. So as I said, you can go to your online account and restore files from there. Alternatively, you can right-click down here, okay, and you can go to Access Files Online. You click on that, it'll open up your account online in the web restore window. Okay. So from the web restore window here, we can see our devices, and if you're using Mozy Sync, you can see your sync devices there as well. Okay, so you have your devices here. Okay, and if you want to make changes to your preferences, so your preferences is where you can enable your actual restore queue. Okay, so you can change the access page to where it will start on if you want to start in your synced folder, or you want to start in your devices. And if you want to enable your restore queue, I'm going to enable my restore queue because I want to show you how it works in a sec. So I'm going to save my preferences. Okay. Now, I'm going to select my machine here and I'm going to create a restore. Okay, I'm going to show you the various options that we have. Okay, so as you can see there, my backup sets. So if I just go back there, I can go to my backup sets and restore one of my backup sets that I've created. Okay, so that I've been backing up all along. I can select one of those. Okay. Here it'll give me the information on the actual file count and the total size and the device and so on. And then if I click this little box here, it'll show me my actions pane. Okay. Now, restore all files is my emergency restore, and that'll restore absolutely everything. If I go to click on the restore all files, I'll get a restore wizard like this. Okay. It'll ask me to create a name for it, and I'm going to call it example. Okay. Then I'm going to go next. I can select then what date I want to restore the files from. So I'm going to say yesterday. You then get this pop-up. Okay, so would you like to include deleted files? Okay, so this can sometimes throw people and it can confuse people. But basically what this means is when you're backing up to us, okay, and if you deselect a file, okay, by accident, we don't remove it from our servers straight away. Mainly because you might not have deselected that file intentionally. Okay, so it's the same that you will hear sometimes people talk about versioning. Okay, so when you back up a file to us, we will, and if you say you back up a file with us today, in tomorrow, if you deselect that file is no longer being backed up with us, but we mark that file for deletion. Okay, so what we do is we mark it and we say, okay, this file has been unselected from backup, but we hold on to the version for your versioning period. Generally with Mozy Pro customers, that's 60 days. That can be actually changed by you with your sales rep. We'll hold the file just in case you actually deselected that file by accident, or maybe you moved the location and the new location is not selected for backup. So that if next week you realize, oh, I deselected that file, I need to add that file back into backup, and you select it to backup, we will check the file and we will only back up the changes to that file in the last week. compared to what we have on our servers. And the file continues along. So these deleted files are those files within the last 60 days that you have deselected for backup. Okay? So it's not entirely, it doesn't mean, files that you wanted gone, are being stored by us. We just keep the versioning. So that's more, it should be more, would you like to include the version files that are not selected for backup, basically. Okay? And you'll see the difference if you do include them. Your actual restore will actually probably grow in size, because generally, if you're backing up, say, we generally have on our backend 3 times as much data as you're backing up. And that's due just to the versioning and the files maybe that you've deselected for backup that haven't yet been removed from our servers, because they haven't reached the period where they're deemed to be allowed to be removed. Okay, and as I said, for Mozy Pro, that's generally 60 days. But again, it's something that you can change with your sales account manager. Okay, so I'm not going to, and I'm just going to hit next. Okay, and then it's going to give me the actual download options. As I said, my account is in EMEA, so I actually don't have the option here to create a media restore, but that will come up down here. If I just go back there, so if we see here I have 1,991 files. If I just go back here and include my deleted files, 6,300. Total size 17.9 gigabytes. That would be because I have a lot of files still on the server that are previous versions that I'm no longer backing up. Okay, but they haven't expired yet because they're being kept just in case I didn't intend to delete them. Okay, so that's just show you how vastly your actual your restore can actually grow if you include those deleted files. So that's an emergency restore. Okay, now if I just want to create a restore manager or an archive restore, I click here. Okay, large download options. Okay, again, I go through the same process. Okay, another wizard, give it my restore name, and that's just so you can track it yourself. And I'll show you where I mean you can track that yourself later. Okay, you just hit next, and then you select which one you want. Restore Manager, Archive Package. Okay, and then as well for you US-based customers, Media Restore will be down here. Okay, so I'm just going to jump back out here, and I'm just going to show you if I'm adding individual files. So I'll just go to my desktop. Okay, and let's say I come down here and I select this one here. So I select that file. Now I can download that now because it's a small file, or again I can change the download option. I could do a Restore Manager, or I could do an archive package if I wished. Versions, as I said there, you can see the versions. So I have additional versions. So when the file changed, the file was backed up. Okay, and I can access those different versions of the file. Okay, select that one again. From the action panels as well, you can actually change the date of the backup. So if you just click here, you can actually come back here and select the files from that particular date. Hit go. Yeah. And then it'll tell you up here where you're actually currently viewing the files from. Okay. So I select that one. If I want, I can add it to the restore queue. Okay. So that's added to my restore queue. I can add this one here. I can add it to my restore queue. Okay. And then I can actually view my restore queue from here then. All right. So my restore queue basically just allows me to select files from various locations on my machine. So, for example, if I go back there, and if I go in here again, so if I'm in my, let's say, for example, I go into my Documents folder, and I go through the painstaking task of ticking a couple of these ones that I want in particular. I want that one, I want that one, and I'm selecting a couple of them, and then I go, oh, actually, no, I need another folder for my desktop, and I click back out here. Those files get deselected, all the ones I would have selected inside my documents. Instead, what I need to do is I need to select them and then add them to my restore queue. Okay, and that allows me to go back out here, allows me to go to my desktop, allows me to select this one here. Okay, and add that to my restore queue. And then when I'm happy with all my files, I can go to my restore queue, and I can go ahead and either restore individual files that I want, or if I want, I can restore all the files in the queue. Okay, so it just allows you to make a couple of selections. So also in terms of your event history, that'll just show you your restores that you've created so that you can keep track of any restores that were created, and that's where the name comes into place. Okay, so that'll just show you all the restores that have been created, the type of restores, okay, are listed there, and the dates and the times they happened at. So whatever restores are created on your account, they're always recorded, and you will always see it within your event history here. Okay, so you can make sure. So we just go back in here. I'm just going to go back to yesterday, and I'm going to create a restore. Oops, need to go back. So I'm going to create a restore of a few files and show you the restore manager. Okay, so I'm going to go here, and I'm going to select this one here. Okay, so it's not too big, but it's not too small either. Okay, I'm going to create this one, restore manager. And then I select the restore manager and hit next. Okay, so what happens then here is that this will check if you have the Mozy Restore Manager installed previously. So it'll check your cookies. So if you might have the Mozy Restore Manager installed on your machine, but you may have cleared your cookies recently. So this just checks your cookies to see if you actually have the Restore Manager downloaded. And if you do, it'll allow you to begin the download straight away. And if you don't, it'll give you the option to download it before you can actually begin the download of the restore. Okay. As well as that, if you want to, if it's been a while since you installed the Restore Manager, you can actually just click on that link there as well, and it'll let you download it straight away. Okay. So I'm going to begin the download, and what it does is actually downloads this restore file. So it's not actually bringing down all the information, it's just bringing this restore file. And once you download that, you double click on it. Okay. It'll open up the Restore Manager for you. Okay. That should automatically log in for you as well, because it's going to pull your login information from your internet session. Okay. You have the option to preserve the original location or select a new location. I'm going to select a new location for this. I'm going to put it on my desktop. Okay. Hit OK. Hit Next. It's just going to confirm the information of the restore for me, and then I hit Finish. Okay. If I want to go show details here, it'll tell me the files that are downloading, what state they are restoring, or of the restore process. It'll give me an estimation on time to completion, how many files there are, size, and so on. So the Restore Manager is pretty handy if you have a large file set, as I said, because it'll run in the background for you like this, so you don't have to be monitoring it. It picks up that restore.mzd file, and it uses that then to actually figure out what it's supposed to be downloading. And it downloads like this. And then you can check all the files that have been downloaded. You can check their progress, okay, to make sure everything is okay. All right. And then if you wanted, if you're doing an emergency restore, you can actually click on the Mozy Online Backup link there, and it'll actually give you the download page to download the client again. Okay. And once it's finished like that, you just hit Remove. And that just empties out your Restore Manager again. You just close that. Okay. And there your files have restored. Okay, so those images there were the ones I restored. Okay. So that's just the Restore Manager Online. And that's the last of the restore options there to show you. So what I'll do now is we've just hit half past the hour. So we will give the last 30 minutes to questions. Okay, so feel free to pop any questions into me that you you have on the restore process. Okay, so I do have 1 or 2 questions already. Okay, so Mark, your question just for everybody. So in case of disaster in the server room, how long to recover 1 terabyte of data? That would entirely be, if you wanted to do over the wire, then it would depend on your internet connection. Anyway, for Mozy to overnight the data on an external drive, yeah, if you're creating an external, if you want to do an external drive restore, then we do use FedEx for shipping our parcels for restores. Okay, Mark, so 6 versions of, so Mark's follow-up question there was, if there are 6 versions of a file that is 1 megabytes, are we getting charged for the total of each file or just the incremental change? No, you're actually only getting charged for the file itself. So whatever the last backup of the file was. So say, for example, your last backup of the file was 10 megabytes. You're only getting charged for that 10 megabytes. Like the previous 6 or previous 5 versions that we have online could maybe total another, 20, 25 megabytes. Well, we don't charge you for that. We only charge you for the actual last backup. Okay, so that's the same situation that if today, like if you were backing up 10 gigabytes today, and in 5 days' time you deselected all the files, and on let's say Friday you're only backing up 5 gigabytes of files. You're only being charged for that 5 gigabytes that you're backing up now. But we still have the versioning of the files, so that makes it 10 gigabytes. So, it allows you to restore those files should it be that you actually deselect them by accident. Okay, so I hope that answers your question, Mark. Not on my screen. Oh yeah, sorry, Jay. So Jay said that some of the options you listed in the actions menu on the right were not on my screen, notably the add to restore queue. Okay, so you just need to actually enable the restore queue. So if you go to your name up the top here, Jay, and go to preferences, and you just need to change this to enable the restore queue. Okay, it's not enabled by default. Okay, so there's something you do have to enable yourself. Okay, so Jay, I hope that answers your question. Okay, Todd, yeah, so the reporting for restores that were created is only just for the online, unfortunately. So it's only available for online because we only record the restores that are created online to your actual to your account here. So your events history here is only taking into account web restores that were created. We don't actually have a way to actually record in-client restores, unfortunately. No problem at all, Todd. Okay, Jay, so you were able to find that. Perfect. Craig, does this webinar repeat next month? Not this particular webinar, so there'll be a different topic next month, but for everybody that does register today, and even if they attended or not and they've only just registered, I will be sending out, we'll be hosting the recording of this session on our support.mozy.com website, and once I have that hosted, I'll get the link and I email it out to everybody that has registered for the class. Okay. Yeah. On this. Okay, so Maria has asked a question there. Just give me 2 seconds. Okay, so Maria has asked Mozy Pros on her company's server. If it goes down, how can I access Mozy Pro? Can I put a link to the Mozy Pro account on my PC also? No, so if you mean in terms of how to create an in-client restore for the server, in that situation, you would have to actually install Mozy on your new server and do a replace machine. So what we would call it. So when you install Mozy and you use the same username and password, okay, or the same username and license key, if you're still using license keys, then it'll prompt you in the next screen to say, do you want to add this machine to your account or do you want to replace an old machine? You would, in your situation, Maria, you would say you want to replace your old machine, because then that would keep the versioning of your files online for you, okay? And then you would create an in-client restore from the new machine. Alternatively, you can access your restores online. Okay. Let me know if that answers your question. If not, I can come at it a different way. Okay, Mark. So when you're opening up your Mozy settings window, it's going through a scan of all your files. Okay. Anyway, to bypass this procedure, none that I'm aware of, Mark, because it is scanning your files to show you what file selections you've actually made. So that could just be down to, I would imagine, that could be just down to the amount of files. Would you have a very large file set, would you say? I know the size-wise, obviously, is quite large at 0.5 terabyte, but like in terms of files, would you have a million plus maybe? That could just that would be probably most down to just to the RAM on the machine, if it is a large file set. So sorry, just for anybody, so Mark's question was just that he, when he opens up his Mozy settings windows, the scan of his files is actually taking close to an hour. And he was just wondering if there was a way to bypass that procedure. So there actually isn't, because it's just scanning the files that he selected to populate the settings window to show what files are selected for backup. And my suggestion for Mark was to check if the amount of files he actually selected, as opposed to the actual size of the files. So in his case, it was a 0.5 terabyte. But if there was say 1.5 million files, then it could just be down to the RAM on the machine. Okay, Mark's good. Thanks. So, are there any other questions anybody has? And if there's any feedback that anybody wants to give on the session, if you have any requests or suggestions or anything like that, you can also pop me an email directly. You should have received my email in the actual invitation. If not, I'll pop it into the chat to everybody. It's just nilef@mozy.com. And so that you should see that there now. Hi, Stephanie. Okay, so Stephanie's question, is there a way to have Mozy back up every file type in a folder? I've had Mozy skip over certain types that didn't recognize, e.g. AutoCAD. Okay, so two ways you could go about this. Okay, so one, I would say first off is, still see my screen, can't you guys? Yeah, so first off, I would say what you could do is create a backup set if there's particular files that you want to back up. So in that instance, you could add a backup set. Okay. Give the backup set a name, search location. Okay. So your C drive, and add a rule, and include file types. I think you said. Sorry, no. .dwg. So what you could do is include file type .dwg. That could be one way. That would be creating a backup set specific for those types of files. Okay, so that would create a backup set and it would search your entire drive for those types of files, and you could select those for backups. Okay. Alternatively, what you could do is, if you are selecting a particular folder, so for example, if we open up here my user one and say the contacts folder here, if you click on the entire folder like that and you get a white background like that, and you get this little green check mark, that just means it's going to select the entire folder and all its contents. So if you do a hover over here, it should be a little. So it just basically, so like if you select the folder like that, it's just going to select everything within the folder and any new things that are added to the folder. Okay, so so no matter what type of file goes into that folder, it'll pick it up for backup. Okay, Stephanie, I hope that answers your question. So you have two options. You can either select the folder if these particular files are actually going into that specific folder all the time, or better yet, create a backup set if it's going to be, these files are going to be on various locations on the machine. Okay, great. Okay, so are there any other questions? Or would anybody like me to go back over anything else? Mark's question was, does a backup VMware or Hyper-V snapshots? I can't for 100% say that we support that. I do know we've had users back them up before, but I can't say at the moment for 100% whether we actually do back up VMware or Hyper-V snapshots. If I can ask you, Mark, will you email me directly with that question, and I'll get a 100% answer for you? That would be the easiest. Okay, so I'm going to reply my email address to everyone. Okay, so that's my email address there. So if you could email me that question directly, and I'll get you a 100% answer on it. I know I have heard of users backing them up before, but I just don't want to be saying 100% whether, just in case I'm not correct. Yeah. So again, once I have Mark, once I have the recording link from our website, I will email that to everybody, and I'll include the slides presentation as well. Okay. Thanks very much. Jay, thank you very much. Thanks for joining. Okay, so if I'll leave it open now for another few minutes for any more questions, but just in case anybody has no more questions, I'd just like to say thank you very much for taking the time to join with me today for our webinar. And we will be looking to run our next webinar again at the same time of next month, which is May, so I believe third Wednesday or the fourth Wednesday of May. So I will have the invitations out to you in plenty of time to give you plenty of notice of it anyway. Okay, so if you just okay, so yeah, next webinar is on the 21st of May, and we will be looking at the Mozy Support website, so the community, the knowledge base, and your My Support login, where you create cases and chats with our support agents. Okay, so that's the 21st of May. That will be our next webinar. Okay, so there doesn't appear like there's any more questions, so I will wrap up there. Again, thank you very much for joining. I know your time is important, and I appreciate people joining and listening to me for an hour. On a technical subject, it's never easy. As I said, I will send on the recording to people, and I will send on the slides as well to you once I have the recording hosted on our website. And I look forward to having people join us again in May. As I said, it's the 21st of May. Okay, it'll be a Wednesday again, same time, and we will be looking at the Mozy community, the knowledge base, and the My Support webpage. Okay, thank you very much, and have a great day, everybody.